Yes, even though the radio show is no longer on the air, we continue.
We found a way.
With the exclusive film and video report.
Those 3 people are going to be so happy.
Back with you once again, exclusively on YouTube. That's how exclusive this has become.
But we're not that happy right now, actually.
No, it's a very sad occasion because the reason that we're doing this is we wanted to pay tribute to the great British comedian Rik Mayall, who passed away. Well, when we're recording this, it's about a week before that we recorded this. And for me, certainly as a teenager watching the young ones on MTV, he was my favorite out of all of them. As Rick, the people's the people's poet, with a little bit of a lisp. I thought that character was so great, and someone put up a tribute online that said one of the great things about that character of Rick on the young ones. Chances are, if you were around at that time and were a young person, you knew someone just like that. And I think I did meet several different Ricks who were all like, anarchy, anarchy. And then when push came to shove, would completely crumble in a heartbeat.
What I loved about Rik Mayall was...
Let me just say this very quickly. Yeah. Cliff Richard did release a statement.
What did he say?
He said, I'm very sorry to hear of Rik Mayall's passing. I was always thrilled when they mentioned my name on the Young Ones. And they did that song together. They did a charity song. They did Live and Doll.
Oh, man. Wow.
So it was Cliff Richard and the Young Ones.
Wow, did he do it as he did it as Rick?
He did. They all did it in character.
Oh, that's great. I got to hear that one.
Yeah. So what you were going to say about Rik Mayall?
What I loved about Rik Mayall was the fact that he could take any moment and he could explode, and all eyes went to him. Look, he only did, you said, 2 appearances on the entire Blackadder series as Lord Flashheart. But people talk about, Lord Flashheart, like he was a regular.
And as you mentioned before we went on the air, he was part of that, what in Britain they called alternative comedy that was happening at the time.
He and Ben Elton.
Right, spearheaded by Ben Elton.
And, because it's a great, I just want to recommend, it's a great summer reading. Stephen Fry wrote a wonderful book called The Fry Chronicles. Mm-hmm. And he really talks about coming out of Cambridge with the footlights and all that. And he says, we thought we were so hot and all that. And then out of nowhere comes these grungy people who are just blowing us out of the water. They're smarter than us. And he's like, and we went to Cambridge. Right. They're funnier. And he was like, what was funny about the young ones is like, they gave this look like they were like working class, lower guys, uneducated. And he's like, it was all an act. They all met at Manchester University.
Right.
They were smart people who knew how to get an audience.
Now, I was a little sad when I was reading some of the obituaries. We know now that he passed away because of a heart attack or heart seizure or something. In the American press, they keep saying Rik Mayall best known for his role as Drop Dead Fred. Well, that's not true, because in America, The Young Ones was shown on MTV. Look, they only made 8 of those episodes. They were rerun constantly.
They only did 8 episodes of The Young Ones?
Yeah, there weren't
I remember
many.
On PBS.
PBS ran them too.
Friday nights were so great.
MTV was a natural because
it worked.
The Young Ones had new wave acts on, like Dexy's Midnight Runners, and who was on there? Madness, The Damned were on there. So it kind of worked in the context of MTV. And I'll never forget the first episode I ever saw, which was Bomb. The bomb lands in the living room.
Oh, yeah, the bomb.
And Rick is going, I'm going to tell Thatcher that we have a bomb. And then the minute the police come, he completely crumbles. He's like, I can't go to prison. I'm too pretty. I'll get raped.
The one that I love the most, and I'm just going to be honest, my favorite was Alexei Sale.
Out of all,
I know it's completely ridiculous. He played that landlord. But yes, getting to Drop Dead Fred, a lot of people hate that movie. I'm infatuated.
I love that movie. Well, I saw it in the theaters. I saw it first run when it came out.
He's so... I remember my sister saying when it was televised for the first time, she said he gave 110%.
Well, first of all, I went to see that movie for a number of reasons. Number one, it was... Well, no. Phoebe Cates actually was my number 2 reason.
Okay, please, I'm sorry.
It was. I said, wow, a movie with Rik Mayall that's playing at my local theater. How great is this? Because, again, I was such a dyed-in-the-wool Young Ones fan, I couldn't believe it. And the fact that Phoebe Cates, the goddess, Phoebe Cates was in the movie. I saw Bright Lights, Big City with Michael J. Fox.
Wow.
Just because Phoebe Cates was in that movie.
Well, the funny thing about Drop Dead Fred was, and it was actually, it worked out for Rick because Robin Williams turned it down. This was a time in the early 90s when a lot of big stars they couldn't get for movies, so they thought, let's get British stars who we don't know here and pay them much less. Lenny Henry came over here to star in a movie called True Identity, which I like, and the whole billing was the British Eddie Murphy. They tried this with Rik, and they thought,
Right.
oh, this will work, and it was a huge disaster, and that went his movie
And
career.
I don't know why. It's actually a very cute film. I just hate the fact that as far as or I should say, as far as the American media is
That's it,
concerned,
yeah.
that's all they know him from.
Well, he did a TV series. I think he also did a series.
Well, he did a bunch
of
them.
them.
Well, he did obviously the young ones. Then he did the New Statement.
That was a big one. New
which
Statesman
was on PBS here, so I used to see that. Remember, his name was Bastard.
Yeah.
And people would call him Bastard, and he'd go, "No, Bastard."
He did one with Robert Lindsay also, I think.
Did he do one with
I think
Robert Lindsay? Well,
he
his
did.
other one is
I might be wrong.
Bottom, and that was a great series which they took on stage. And in fact, if you go to YouTube, you'll see that they break character all the time in the stage productions, and it's really funny. And how they get back to where they needed to be. Like, there's at least 7 minutes where they just completely go off the script and break character and just be, incredibly silly. Look, it's a sad loss. He was 50. Oh, we should mention he had he had this terrible accident around that time where he was riding a quad bike, and I guess, I don't know, he hit something or whatever, but he was, I think, clinically dead for 5 days.
Oh, my God.
And then was, he showed signs of life. And apparently this affected his long-term memory. So people would ask him about specific things that he had done in his past that he couldn't remember. Outside of that, he evidently was in good health, great spirits. This is just one of those sudden things. It's a bolt out of the blue, and, what are you going to do? And it's a huge loss for comedy. He was still, in fact, the last thing that Rik Mayall did, you can find it on YouTube, he did a voiceover for a short animated film called Don't Fear Death.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
like the last. It's very odd.
I hope he took,
It's a very
the
funny
advice of
piece.
the film.
It's a very funny piece.
Here's a little interesting thing, a little tidbit.
Sure.
First time I ever used that word tidbit. 1987.
Sounds sexual. Go ahead.
1987-88, when they were doing some recasting changes on Doctor Who, the men they brought in,
Right.
Rik Mayall,
He would have been a fantastic Doctor.
Rowan Atkinson, John Sessions, Tim McInerney.
John Sessions would have been an incredible. We talked about this.
We did talk about Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie, all these people.
All the big
Ken
names.
Branagh, I think, Alan Rickman. But I was like, oh, Rik auditioned for the Doctor. That would have been interesting.
That would have been great.
He would have been a little too over the top, but...
No, I think it would have been fantastic. Look, in my book, Rik Mayall could do no wrong.
One last thing.
Sure.
Okay. In the 1993, and it's on YouTube, one of the BBC channels gave Rik a bunch of, the whole summer, and he got a bunch of these little TV movies, and it was all these different ones with Rik. One of them, they're on YouTube. It's called Dancing Queen. And the whole thing is he's a guy who's about to get married, and his friends throw him a bachelor party, and he ends up meeting the stripper played by Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh, wow.
And a friendship breaks out. It's one of very funny, but the whole thing's on YouTube. Check them out.
So that's your mission, folks, since you're on YouTube already.
You are.
You might as well look for these Rik Mayall clips. And that, my friends, is it. Until next time, for the exclusive film and video report, rest in peace, the people's poet, Rik Mayall.